Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Thursday, December 4th, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the two words that say Start Here in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 21 years now to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships, and to turn any negative emotional experience I have into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again, absolutely free. You can also download a whole host of audio files from that web page, of shows just like this one where people have called in and been stepped through the worksheet process. And if you choose to use them, even listen to them even repeatedly, they can serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. And we hope people do that, all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives. And secondarily, because it tends to prompt comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. If you have any of those, you can email me at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org, or you can email Jeanie at jeanie@whyagain.org. That's whyagain.org. And if we get a question or a comment from you through an email, we'll address it on the internet show. And then as time allows, we'll send you a notification about what day and time that occurred, so you can listen back to the archives for your feedback or input. Alternatively, if you're available, you can join us live most weekdays from 11 to noon Central Time. You can go to zoom.us and enter the meeting ID number 853-2357-4173. That's 853-2357-4173. And if you choose to enter that or connect with us just through the phone, when you log in, you'll be muted. And the way you turn off your mute or raise your hand to speak is *6. And that's a toggle to mute and unmute, *6 on your phone. And we greatly appreciate whenever anybody chooses to either join us live or listen in, or send us an email. It makes it so much easier for us to live into our intention. The intention we have here with this work is to be of service, and that's just so much easier to do when we know how these things are landing for you. And so we would greatly appreciate you helping us by letting us know how we could change anything we're doing that might provide more benefit to you. I have a couple different things to discuss today. One of them, of course, yesterday we started the reading from Krishnamurti's Commentaries on Living, Series 2. It's a book that there are 3 episodes or 3 editions of the book. Series 1, Series 2, Series 3. Essentially, they're just compilations of conversations, transcripts of conversations that Krishnamurti has had with people who had come to him for counsel. And they're organized and coordinated with into sections or topics. And then there's a bit of prose, descriptive prose at the beginning of each section written by one of his companions and fellow editors. And we'll get back to reading from the Krishnamurti work, but I also wanted to share a talk from Alan Watts. And one of the reasons that I do this, I mention it from time to time, is the more different people we can hear giving their perspective on a deep truth or a dynamic or a process of the way our lives function, the more different angles we can come at it from, the more deeply we'll understand it, and the more quickly we will get to that deeper understanding. And this is a truth that I've known for years. It was in Dr. Michael Ryce's 4-hour audio CD, the original one that I was privileged to listen to, the 4-hour talk, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And it's a 4-hour audio CD from which probably 10 other lectures were derived over the years and distilled out and expanded upon. So in that same vein of what Michael Ryce talks about in that lecture, that the more different ways we can come at a problem or a new piece of knowledge or an insight or a deep truth or a spiritual law, the more different ways we can have it explained to us from the more different perspectives, the more quickly we will understand it at deeper and deeper levels. Well, so here's a talk from Alan Watts that just, it had all the brain cells going off in my head saying, oh my gosh, he's talking about the same dynamic here as the way of mastery in lesson 4, talking about desire. He has the same fundamental understanding about the energy of desire and its purpose and whether or not it's detrimental or useful. He has the same dynamic, as far as I can see, as way of mastery. Also, in this talk, if you're at all familiar with Abraham-Hicks and the channeling that comes from Abraham through Esther Hicks, and the dynamics they talk about and how that body of work is what gave rise to the movie The Secret and the book The Secret. And it literally gave rise to a whole cottage industry of people teaching other people how to manifest and what to manifest. And so you'll hear some of that in here as well. And this is from Alan Watts, who, you know, his work, his study predated the Abraham-Hicks talks and predated the movie The Secret and the book The Secret by, decades. So this is what we're talking about here, is just fundamental and fundamentally observable truths about how our lives work. So here's the talk from Alan Watts. I want you to imagine something with me for a moment. Something very simple, yet very strange. Imagine that every desire you have ever felt, every longing, every ache, every frustration, was not a mistake, not a misdirection, not some embarrassing evidence of human weakness, but a clue, a signpost, a compass, a needle pointing toward the very essence of who you truly are. Most people live their entire lives believing the opposite. They think desire is something suspicious, something to suppress, fight, or bargain with. They're taught that wanting is the root of suffering, that craving is a flaw in the system, that peace comes only when the heart stops reaching. But what if that isn't true? What if desire is not the villain, but the guide? What if the universe has only ever been saying to you one thing, and that thing is simply this: you always get what you want. But you must understand what you truly want. And so here we are, you and I, drifting in this great mysterious experience we call life, trying to make sense of why some things come to us effortlessly while others stay locked away as if behind an impenetrable wall. People ask me, why do I not get what I want? Why do I keep getting what I don't want? Why do I keep manifesting struggle, stress, or disappointment? If the universe gives us what we want, why do I get the opposite? And I always smile, because the answer is hidden in the question itself. You see, most people don't realize what they're actually wanting. They believe they want success, yet they spend every day immersed in the feeling of fear that they'll fail. They think they want love, yet their entire emotional vocabulary is shaped by the expectation of rejection. They say they want abundance, yet their internal conversation is dominated by lack, insecurity, and the anxious scanning of what's missing. This is the strange and ironic joke of the cosmos. You don't manifest what you say you want. You manifest what you are. You are like a tuning fork, vibrating its own frequency into existence. You attract not your words, but your state of being. Not your thoughts alone, but the emotional atmosphere in which those thoughts swim. And so, in this great dream, this divine game, you'll always get what you want. But the want that the universe responds to is much deeper than conscious intention. You must understand this if you wish to move through life as a creator rather than as a victim of circumstance. I often tell people the universe is not listening to your lips, it's listening to your nerves. It's listening to the tension in your belly, the rhythm of your breath, the electromagnetic hum of your heart. It responds to what you know, not what you hope. It responds to your inner posture, your inner decision, your emotional certainty. And so the question becomes, what am I truly wanting beneath the surface? What is it that I have rehearsed so deeply, so repeatedly, that it has become my actual request to the universe? Because that is the thing that is always being granted. Let me take you deeper. When you say, I want a peaceful life, and yet your daily emotional state is one of overwhelm, resentment, and internal conflict, the universe hears only the emotional reality, not the verbal wish. And when you say, I want love, but inside you feel unworthy or terrified of intimacy, the universe hears the vibration of fear and protects you from the vulnerability you secretly dread. Pause there. I had to let someone else in from the on the Zoom platform. When you say, I want abundance, but your subconscious is still gripping tightly onto scarcity, the universe responds not with cruelty, but with consistency. It gives you the experience that matches the frequency you live in. And so the great spiritual task is not to manipulate the universe or to recite affirmations until your lips go numb. The task is to understand yourself, to see clearly what you have been asking for emotionally, not verbally, to become intimate with the deeper layers of your own being. And once you see this, once you truly see the emotional patterns you've been repeating for years, everything changes. You no longer feel betrayed by life. You no longer feel cursed or unlucky or condemned by forces outside your control. You begin to recognize that you have always been practicing and participating in the shape of your experience. You've always been co-authoring the story you were living. And then something beautiful happens. You awaken to your power. I often describe life as a great cosmic mirror, not a moral mirror, not a mirror that judges you, but an energetic mirror. It reflects what you are broadcasting, quietly, continuously, even when your conscious mind is preoccupied with distractions and the mirror is perfectly neutral. It does not argue with you. It does not decide what you desire. Being neutral, it does not decide what you deserve. It simply reflects your inner world, outward, into form, into circumstance, and into some symbolic experience. This is why two people in the same situation can live completely different emotional realities. One person sees an opportunity, another sees a threat. One person meets kindness, the other person meets hostility. One person is surrounded by possibility, the other by closed doors. The world is not doing this to you. You are doing this to the world, and the world is reflecting it back with astonishing accuracy. Now, I understand this might sound frustrating at first because it suggests responsibility. And yet I promise you, once you recognize the truth, it becomes the most liberating realization you will ever have. Because it means that your life is not random. It is not chaotic. It is not subject to the unpredictable whims of fate. It means you can change everything by changing the one thing that actually matters, your inner state. This, you see, is the heart of the teaching. Not that you should try harder to manifest something, but that you should become aware of the emotional signature you carry through the world. Because you are always manifesting, even now, even in doubt, even in fear, even in longing, which means you are far more powerful than you realize. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine you're holding a magnet in your hand, and imagine the world around you is made of countless tiny metal shavings, experiences, people, opportunities, all swirling around, waiting to organize themselves around your magnetic field. If your magnet is shaped by fear, the shavings arrange themselves into fearful patterns. If your magnet is shaped by resentment, your experiences form themselves into echoes of that same bitterness. Yet if your magnet is shaped by peace and trust, by a quiet knowing that life supports you, then the world reorganizes itself in ways that reflect that trust. This is not superstition. This is not magical thinking. This is a fundamental law of consciousness. Everything in your life is responding to the tone of your being. This is the meaning behind the ancient saying, quote, as within, so without, close quotes. It is not poetry. It is physics of the soul. Now let us return to the central idea. You always get what you want. To understand this deeply, you must redefine want. Most people think desire is simply the conscious wish for something. More money, a partner, better health, more peace. But the true want is the emotional investment beneath the surface. The universe responds to the emotional charge, to the sensation, to the identity you inhabit as you move through your day. If you identify as someone who is always waiting for life to improve, you attract more waiting. If you identify as someone who must struggle for everything, you attract more struggle. If you identify as someone perpetually uncertain, you attract experiences that keep you uncertain. Your identity itself is a request to the universe, and life, being neutral and precise, grants that request unfailingly. This is why inner work is the ultimate creative act. This is why meditation, self-awareness, and emotional coherence matter. Not because they are spiritual practices, but because they transform the energetic signal you broadcast. They shift the internal want from fear to trust, from scarcity to abundance, from separation to unity. And trust me, once the internal signal changes, the external world must follow. You cannot broadcast the frequency of certainty and continue to manifest chaos. You cannot emanate gratitude and continue to attract loss. You cannot live in the emotional state of a fulfilled person while simultaneously experiencing a life of emptiness. Those two realities are incompatible. One must dissolve into the other. And so the key is not to force reality to change. The key is to become the one for whom the desired reality is natural, not an achievement, not a miracle, simply the next logical expression of your becoming. Let me tell you a secret. You do not attract what you chase. You attract what you are willing to receive. And to receive something, you must be emotionally congruent with it. If I hand you a beautiful gift, but you don't believe you deserve it, you'll find a way to reject it. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. You will sabotage it, mistrust it, or feel unworthy of it until it slips through your fingers. This is why so many people lose opportunities, relationships, or blessings that they consciously wanted. They were not emotionally aligned with receiving them. So this is why so many people lose opportunities. They just weren't emotionally aligned with receiving them. But once you shift the emotional state, once you begin to feel like the kind of person who naturally experiences love, abundance, peace, or clarity, then receiving those things becomes effortless. You see, the universe is not withholding anything from you. It is simply matching your signal. Always. Consistently, precisely. When people hear this, they often ask, so how do I change what I want emotionally? How do I shift the deeper desire that I've unknowingly rehearsed for years? And that, my friend, is where our journey begins. Because you do not change your reality by force. You can change it by awareness. You cannot transform what you refuse to see. You cannot elevate what you deny. And you cannot heal what you pretend doesn't exist. So the first step, the very first step, is to watch yourself without judgment, with allowance, acceptance, and surrender. To become curious about your emotional patterns. To observe the silent stories you tell yourself when no one is listening. What do you expect from life? What do you habitually anticipate? What emotional instructions have you been broadcasting to the universe day after day? Are you living as someone who expects disappointment? Are you living as someone who expects struggle? Are you living as someone who expects delay, rejection, or confusion? Or are you living as someone who trusts life, who feels guided, who believes that everything unfolding is conspiring in your favor? Because that inner posture, conscious or not, is the desire the universe responds to. And remember, you always get what you want when you truly understand what your want actually is. So then, let us go deeper into this mystery of wanting. Because wanting, as you begin to understand, is not a surface level phenomenon. It is not the simple act of saying, I want this or I want that. Wanting arises from the very core of your being. It bubbles up from the most intimate layers of consciousness, your consciousness. And if you look closely, very closely, you will notice something quite profound. All of your desires are ultimately pointing you home. Not to a physical home, not to a place on a map, but to a state of being. Every desire you have ever had is a longing for a particular emotional experience. You think you want money. What you actually want is freedom. You think you want a relationship. What you really want is connection. You think you want success. What you really want is significance, purpose, contribution. You think you want peace. What you really want is a sense of alignment with yourself. Strip away the form, and what remains is a pure feeling, a state, a frequency. And once you understand this, you unlock something extraordinary. The feeling you want is available now, long before the form arrives, long before the manifestation takes shape. You can experience freedom before the money. You can experience connection before the partner. You can experience peace before the circumstances around you change. And when you do that, when you learn to generate the feeling of the future before the future arrives, then the universe has no choice but to arrange reality to match the state you're already living in. This is the paradox of wanting. You get what you want when you stop needing the outer world to conform it first, or to confirm it first. Because the outer world is not the cause. The outer world is effect. Everything you experience externally is a delayed reflection of what you have cultivated internally. Your inner world is not secondary. It is primary. It is the origin of what you experience. And once you see this, you begin to play the game of life with a kind of lightness, a kind of inner freedom that most people never discover. You stop wrestling with circumstances. You stop bargaining with the future. You stop trying to force outcomes. Instead, you shift your inner state, and the world responds, like a dancer following the lead, like a river responding to gravity, like a mirror reflecting whatever stands before it. But there is something even more beautiful here, something people rarely consider. The universe is not merely responding to your desire. It is evolving you through your desire. Now that's, for me, one of the more powerful lines in this, so I'm going to back up and read it again. Something even more beautiful is here. It's something people rarely consider. The universe is not merely responding to your desire, it is evolving you through your desire. You say you want strength, and life gives you moments that ask you to become strong, demand that you become strong. You say you want courage, life brings you experiences that invite you to rise. You say you want love, life leads you to see every wall you've built around your own heart. And this is not punishment. This is preparation. You always get what you want. But sometimes the universe gives it to you in the form of growth first. I often describe it as the seasoning of the soul. Life is not giving you obstacles. It's giving you the capacity to receive the very thing you asked for. If you want the ocean, you must first become the vessel capable of holding it. If you want abundance, you must expand beyond the consciousness of scarcity. If you want deep love, you must peel away the armor you wore when you believed love was unsafe. So those last two paragraphs, I've got to go back and read them again. There's something even more deeply beautiful here, something people rarely consider. The universe is not responding, not merely responding to your desire. The universe is literally evolving you through your desire. You say you want strength, and then life gives you the moments that demand you become strong. You say you want courage, life brings you experiences that invite you to rise to the occasion. You say you want love, life leads you to see every wall you've built around your own heart. And it is not punishment, it is preparation. You always get what you want. But sometimes the universe gives it to you in the form of growth first. I often describe it as the seasoning of the soul. Life is not giving you obstacles, it's giving you the capacity to receive the very thing you asked for. If you want the ocean, you must first become the vessel capable of holding it. If you want abundance, you must expand beyond the consciousness of scarcity. If you want deep love, you must peel away the armor you wore when you believed love was unsafe. So when people say, quote, I asked for confidence and life gave me difficulties, close quotes, I say, of course, you are becoming the one who naturally lives the reality you asked for. This is why resistance is such a fascinating teacher. When you resist an experience, You're resisting the version of yourself that experience is carving out of you. You are resisting the growth that aligns you with your desire. That set of ideas, those 4 lines there, Guy Finley would say exactly the same thing and take 8 paragraphs to say it. But Guy Finley talks extensively and deeply about resistance. And when I resist an event, a life event, because the lessons I need to learn, according to Guy Finley, ride into my life on the back of the events I don't want. And when I reject the event and say it's bad or wrong, I lose the lesson. I reject the lesson as well. Only when I allow the event, allow the revelation, do I get the lesson, do I learn the lesson. So resistance is a fascinating teacher. When you resist an experience, what you're really resisting is the version of yourself that life experience is carving out of you. You're resisting the growth that aligns you with your desire. And yet, once you stop fighting, once you breathe into the moment and let it shape you, you begin to receive the hidden gift behind the discomfort. You begin to understand why things happen the way they do. You see, the universe is not random. It is not chaotic. It is intimately responsive. Every moment is speaking to you. Every experience is shaping you. Every challenge is polishing the lens through which you see reality. And if you pay attention, if you become quiet, if you become the quiet, curious observer, you begin to notice that your life has always been guiding you, nudging you, whispering to you in subtle ways. The right people show up at the right moment. The right lessons appear when you're ready. The right opportunities emerge when your vibration matches them. Life is not happening to you. It is unfolding with you. This is why trust is such an essential ingredient in this journey. Not blind trust, not naive optimism, yet an embodied trust that arises from seeing how intimately connected your inner world is to your outer experience. Because once you see the connection, once you truly see it, trust becomes the natural response. And when you trust life, you stop clenching, you stop contracting, you stop trying to control every variable. You become receptive, open, and aligned. And in that openness, the things you once chased begin moving toward you. Not because you demanded them, not because you forced them, because you became a match for them. Remember this, life does not give you what you push for. Life gives you what you relax into. The oak tree does not strain to grow. The ocean does not struggle to rise and fall. The sun does not force itself to shine. All of nature unfolds effortlessly because it is aligned with its own essence. And you, my friend, are nature. You are not separate from this great cosmic rhythm. You are not an isolated fragment lost in an indifferent universe. Take a breath, settle into this next line. You are the universe expressing itself as a human being for a little while. You are the universe, expressing itself as a human being for just a little while. And once you understand this, not just intellectually, but experientially, everything you want becomes available to you. Because you stop wanting from a place of lack and you start wanting from a place of recognition. You realize you don't want abundance. You are abundance discovering and rediscovering itself. You don't want love. You are love, remembering its own reflection. You don't want peace. You are peace, awakening from the dream of chaos. You don't want purpose. You are purpose incarnate. And so wanting becomes no longer an act of reaching for something outside of yourself, but a gentle turning toward what has always been within you. This is why the great mystics and sages could walk through life with such profound serenity. They knew that nothing was missing. They knew that the universe was not withholding anything from them. They knew that desire was simply the soul guiding them back into deeper expressions of itself. When you want something, life is simply saying, here is the next door, here is the next expansion, here is the next unfolding. This is the beauty of desire. It is not greed, it is not restlessness, it is life seeking fuller expression through you. It's lines like that that take me right back to what I have distilled out of Lesson 4 from The Way of Mastery. Life is seeking fuller expression through you. Desire, as I distilled the definition for desire from the fourth lesson of The Way of Mastery, think of every time they use the word desire, substitute the phrase, the energy of creation that wants to express uniquely through me in this moment. And I can tune into that energy, and I can tune into the thoughts that get generated around that energy to great advantage in my life. And I can learn through the practice, whatever exercises you want. The Way of Mastery offers a couple in its fourth lesson. But you can learn to tune into that energy and learn at deeper and deeper levels how you can allow it to inform your choices and your actions without giving up control, without losing your capacity for choice, that spiritual faculty of choice in each moment. So the talk by Alan Watts goes on. So when you feel a longing, do not shame it, do not suppress it, do not fear it. Become intimate with it. Listen to it. Follow it to its root. Ask it what it is truly pointing towards. Every longing is a seed, and within the seed is the entire blueprint of the tree. And understand this well. The seed does not become the tree by force. It becomes the tree by surrender, by yielding to its nature, by allowing itself to be guided, by trusting that everything it needs will arrive in the exact moment it is required. And so must you, because the universe has never denied you anything. It has only been waiting for you to become the version of yourself who can receive it. Which means your spiritual work is actually very simple. Become aware of the emotional reality you are currently living in. Notice the stories you keep telling yourself about life. Notice the expectations you unconsciously carry. Notice the vibrations you inhabit when you wake up, when you speak, when you think, when you imagine your future. Your life is always speaking in the language of your state of being. If you want to change your experience, shift the state, shift the identity, shift the inner tone. You don't fix the mirror by polishing the reflection. You fix the mirror by changing what is standing in front of it. Alan Watts, a talk about the first line says, imagine that every desire you have ever felt, every longing, every ache, every frustration was not a mistake or a misdirection or an embarrassing evidence of your human weakness, but a clue, a signpost, a compass needle pointing toward the very essence of who you truly are. So here's hoping that's sparking some thoughts, reactions, comments, questions from anybody on the call. Thank you all for being here. Apparently we've got about 15 minutes left. How can we support you today? How is the sound quality today? As you can tell, there's a whole different setup here. If you're
Sound quality is great, and thank you for being my oracle.
I had to turn down the volume there for a minute. Go ahead.
I said just thank you for being my oracle.
Okay. Well, I don't know how I'm doing that, but okay.
Yeah, you are, because everything, it seems when I come on, is exactly what's being reflected through you is exactly what is needed at the moment. So yeah, of course I came in late, so I'll go back and I had another appointment, but go back and listen to the first part. But what I did catch was, wow, yeah.
Well, I was moved to interrupt the reading from Krishnamurti's book, Commentaries on Living, Series 2, which I started yesterday, because there were 3 or 4 different layers of this talk by Alan Watts that tie into what Guy Finley teaches, Michael Ryce teaches, Way of Mastery teaches, Abraham-Hicks teaches, so I just couldn't resist.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And so, what's new in your young life?
Oh, it's, as you know, I did the retreat, so lots of magic and happened there. Magic after I left, and yeah, just another layer of vitality and just deeper awarenesses, the layering of how the power person dynamic, especially around the masculine, and how I mistook man's behavior for masculine, and I mistook woman's behavior for the feminine. That's really, and it's letting go. And my reality screen is being cleared, which is beautiful. So that's, just showing up, doing my work, being consistent in the practice, and deeper insights. Trusting and letting go of the guards coming down. And exactly what you said in the talk, knowing the seeds there and being able to lean and trust in life. That if I get out of my own way and all of my own conditioning, it will reveal itself beautifully. And it's serving me. It's me creating me. So.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I keep finding, the biggest thread that shocks me as I uncover it, and I recognize that if I go back, it's always been there, but the biggest theme is captured by what Dr. Michael Ryce says when he says, if you want to heal, you've got to be out of your mind. you got to get out of the thought process. And that's the truth of that resonated so deeply with me back in the early 80s when I started reading Krishnamurti's work, that it probably has been one of those guiding posts for me as I weave through all these different teachings. If there's a teaching that talks about how your thought is fundamentally in error, then it resonates with me, and I go and dive into that and see if they've got a slightly different way of talking about it that might enrich or expand my understanding, personal felt understanding of it, not an intellectual process. Because this is, we're talking about recognizing how limited my mind as a thought tool is. It's so limited in thought.
1000%. And I'm just, they say that analogy, the journey from the head to the heart is the longest path. And that's what I'm transitioning from, the mental. I lived in the mental mind. Right? I lived there for most of my life, wanting to figure it out. And now I'm dropping into the felt sense of experience. That's a whole different.
Yeah. Talk about how much differently that feels.
Yeah, way better.
In that energy system you're sitting in there that you call a body.
I know, it's huge. It's huge. And then also learning in the feminine line that you talked yesterday, just to be, it's safe to trust in my own knowing. And the conditioning that prevented me from that, or that my conditioning believing I couldn't trust in my own knowing, now it's coming into really rooted into that. This is my story, my journey, my knowing. And not that others have to agree or disagree with it. It has no bearing on my own truth.
Right. As they do agree and disagree, they just create their own realities. But they don't have to be creating your experience.
Yeah, that's just finally that I really understand. And I'm here to walk with my path and coming into know myself, and then to thine own self be true.
So yesterday I was mentioning that I talked with somebody on Monday who was very adamant that she didn't want to start talking about how the patriarchy had perpetrated X, Y, or Z, whatever, because she doesn't want to fall into the role of victim and start into some political movement to overturn the patriarchy. She just wants to change her inner state. And I applaud her for that. And I would hope that she starts to recognize that it's useful to understand how many years I've lived with the messages of the patriarchy that told me that as a woman I couldn't trust my judgment, et cetera, and all the different ways, whether it's the person who comes to do the appliance repair, or the person at the tire shop, or the person at the auto shop, who, even if they don't say the words out loud, imply, are you sure your husband's going to be okay with this decision, et cetera, right? That if you understand how many hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of times you've been fed the inference, if it wasn't directly straight, it might have been directly stated, but at least the inference that because you have a female body, what your mind says isn't as valuable. If you understand how many times you've had that message presented to you, then you can see the validity of needing for you to start reprogramming your own internal belief system, your own auto response. What does Michael Ryce call it? The automatic response system in the brain instead of the spiritual faculty of choice. So that in combination with reciting how your judgment is as good as anybody else's and dismantling the negative pushback against that with the use of these tools, Michael's tools or anybody else's that suit you, that two-prong approach will take you sooner to the place where you feel that it's not just right, it's the safest thing to do is to trust your own judgment.
Yes. Yeah, that's where it's starting to, I'm getting there. I'm starting to just, navigate going right into the sweet spot of that. So that's really exciting. And of course, having to face all my delusions. And there's a lot. I'm just saying, there's quite a few that's unraveling.
Delusions like what? What do you mean, face my delusions?
Well, number one, that, my view that masculine was bad, that I had to protect myself, keep myself protected from the masculine. And then sending out an energy of intimidation, not even knowing I was doing that. I didn't even know that that was an energy that was surrounding my field. Don't come into my field. So that's a big one. And then, that rest is so also sending out an energy that I'm always in protection, that I have to protect, be on guard. That's an energy surrounding me.
So the delusion that you're in danger?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a delusion, an absolute, that I'm walking in the world because the world's unsafe and I'm in danger and I have to keep myself guarded and in protection. That's, yes. And then especially from the masculine. The masculine that I must protect. Those two delusions. So there are many worksheets I'm continuing and wanting to perceive the most accurate, the most accurate point of view around that. And being open, being curious is those things. Just, okay, interesting creation. I'm getting there. I'm not so defended as I was even since I came online, started coming into your calls. That's starting, that I can notice that it's dropping. And just being in curiosity and just being a witness. And it's all serving me exactly the part that I came in for, what you were speaking of. Life is serving me with the desires that I'm asking for. And I love that you said when the readings, everything I'm asking for, because I'm asking for a lot, to be courageous and to be, I want to show up in truth. I've been saying that since 2011. I just want to see the truth and be the truth, morning and night. So of course, everything that's not that is coming up.
Has to come up, right.
Has to come up. So, and now I can understand it more and more. It's the felt sense of the truth of that. Where you may have said that to me before, I would have heard it even 6 months ago, I would have heard the words, but it wouldn't have landed in the felt sense of the truth of it.
Exactly.
So, and that feels so good. That feels so good because it's the felt sense of the truth of that, not me intellectualizing the truth of it. So.
And that's where we have to be, right? This is what this particular reading was from Alan Watts. Shifting the inner experience and understanding that, and as I talk about fairly frequently when we mention the Reality Management Worksheet, every time I do a worksheet and I get a shift of my upset level from a higher level down to a lower level, if I'm willing to take a moment and step back and observe, I can see the evidence right there of the power of the worksheet because my internal experience has been created inside me. So I do a worksheet on this situation, and then I go do a survey of the people and activities that 10 minutes ago I thought were causing my upset, and none of them have changed, and my upset level has dropped. And there's the living evidence that it's all an inside job.
Yeah, the direct experience of it. We're viscerally feeling the shift. Yeah, it's life is just getting better and better. And then, when we went to the retreat, lots of opportunity for me to really see, and we got paired with the relationships that there were resonance of things for healing. So it was just so profound. And we got to come together as a group where we got to hold space for each other, and it was really held in a container of depth of love. And people were really vulnerable. I would say this particular one was, I did the one in May. This one, the first one was amazing, and this one just, I don't even know how to explain it. It feels like the container, the depth, I felt like we were doing a lot for humanity as well. Maybe.
Well, and the idea is that each and every one of those is going to be different, just like every group is different.
Yes.
And so it sounds, as somebody who's been to quite a few of those, in my experience, I'd say 4 or 5 is quite a few. 9-day and 5-day. I think I did 3 9-days and 1 5-day. If not, it was 4 9-days and 1 5-day.
Okay.
But then I've also been listening as other people have talked about other intensives as an outsider, listening through the internet show over the past, soon to be 15 years. And I think it's fairly obvious that some of those meetings, they just have a much better energetic emotional chemistry between the attendees than they do in others.
Yeah.
And this was one of those where it was just really a sweet energy, a nice match between people and their stage of development and their willingness. And that just, that's my guess about how this would compare to other intensives. They're all different in their own ways, and they all provide, as all these teachings would tell us, just what I need to go to the next level.
And we're just meeting ourselves with the energetic resonance. So, by the way, I love your new sound system. It sounds really crisp, and
I'm hoping
really great. It is. It's really
because I'm leaving here to go directly into an interview for the On Your Mind podcast, and the last one I did, the sound quality was unacceptable, so this is the attempt at an upgrade. So.
Yeah, and then as you bring it closer, it gets the timbre changes. Just when you put
it changes dramatically. I know it's just, and so I'm going to have to get used to that for doing these podcasts. But thank you for being here. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. And the other weird thing I've noticed lately is that every single time things don't go the way I think they should, they always work out far better than I